won't say privilege of like delivering a baby, but
you can do the next one.
No.
What's up, my loves? Welcome to Moon Catching with Erica, a place where women learn how to align their bodies to their natural flow. I am your nutritionist and health coach. So today I have a little bit of a special episode. I wanted to share with you all my birth story in honor of the end of Black Maternal Health Week. I thought this would be a great way to end on a positive note. So I actually even have a special guest who's going to help me tell this story. So if you want to hear about how I went into labor at Benihana and finally delivered at a birthing center, stick around. This episode is for you. So as promised, here he is. This is my special guest. This is Shamar. He's my husband and Reagan's dad. And he's just going to help me tell our birth story. I know some parts that he doesn't know, and he knows some parts that I don't know. So I thought it would be a really great way to share our story.
No, yeah, my story is a little bit more exciting and truth. So I'll let her tell hers, and I'll join in.
We're going to collaborate, yes. Yeah, I might have to talk him down on some of his facts. So the story starts on a Saturday. We were getting ready to go out to dinner for his birthday. His birthday is June 13th. We decided that it would be a good idea to go to dinner early for his birthday because Reagan, her due date was June 17th. So it was probably a good idea that we, got the weekend out of the way and went out to dinner before any chance of her due date. I was getting ready upstairs, but I was like, let me just clean this bathroom real quick. I was just intently nesting right before Reagan was born. So I'm in there scrubbing, belly and all, scrubbing that shower stall top to bottom. As soon as I was done, I did feel a little something, but I had been having Braxton Hicks contractions the whole time anyway. So I was like, okay, this may just be Braxton Hicks, but let me just lay down a little bit before we go to dinner. When I woke up from my nap, it was about 4:30, and that's when I really started to feel, again, like something. And I did have to go to the bathroom. And in hindsight, that is a sign that you are going into labor, but you don't know these things when it's happening. Getting dressed and we're getting ready, and we end up going to his favorite spot, which is Benihana. And
yes.
The whole waiting for Benihana, waiting for a table.
At the time, I didn't know anything remotely close to her being actually going into labor. So then Erica told me, like, hey, I'm going to call the midwife. Now,
so this is like, for you, that was the first you were hearing of it?
Yes, that was the first I was hearing.
Okay, so from my perspective, I was secretly timing my contractions the whole time. So, like I said, we were out for his birthday dinner, and I didn't want to be someone who goes into false labor for his potentially last hurrah before the baby comes.
And they teach you that. Like, one thing I will say is, I think it was ingrained in my head that throughout the process, especially throughout the natural process and taking the classes, is that you think that you're going to have this baby and you're really not. So the whole time in my head is like, no, I was prepared for this. Like, she's not having a baby right now, because they ingrained that in my mind. Like, no worries, you're not having the baby yet.
Right.
So
and early, because
right.
this would be a week early.
Yes.
She was due on the 17th, and so this was the 10th. So that's also something that they tell you, that, first time moms, you tend to go late. And then also, maybe your day of the birth would be really long. So at some point we realized, let's just call the midwife. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. He doesn't know what we're doing. We're talking to this group of people, and there's like one baby between all of our, friends at the time. So we call the midwife. They give you the hotline number and to see who's on call. And thankfully it was my favorite midwife, Jen. She was on call. And I basically had to ask her, like, how do you know if you're in labor? Because it's something you don't know. You don't understand what's going to happen to you. Even if you hear it, you don't really know what it's supposed to feel like. So she started to describe the difference between Braxton Hicks and real contractions and the tightness. By then it was official that, yep, I think I'm in labor. And she's like, well, just stay at dinner. And I'm like,
yeah, she was super calm about that. She was like, oh, you guys were at dinner? That's good. That's great. Enjoy.
You should
and it was
stay
just
there.
one of those that it was just like, enjoy your dinner. And I'm like, cool.
made sense to him, of course, because he wanted to go finish his Benihana, his favorite, right? But I think at some point I said, oh yeah, it's okay if we stay here and eat, you know, like the midwife says, we might as well just stay here as long as we need to. At some point, I changed my mind and I said, do you mind taking your food home, like, for leftovers and not eat it here?
I think my answer, it wasn't like a straight no, but let's just say I ate some of my food at Benihana.
I'm pretty sure it was more of a, I mean, it was one of those answers. Like, you were very hesitant because you're so excited about your Benihana birthday meal, and little old me going into labor and saying she wants to go home.
And I was still just, I won't say in disbelief. I'm not saying that. I would just say that I was like really sticking to the training
of how women go into labor for their first time, and it takes a long time for them to deliver. Yeah.
So I kind of had that in my head while she was telling me the story, and I also had, you know, Benihana in my eyesight, and I really just wanted to get my food too. So.
One of our good friends, she, you know, we always joke when we tell this story. She's like, yeah, I knew. She's like, I don't know what he was doing. She's like, I knew for the whole time that, you know, I guess she's looking at me, but again, he was looking at Benihana food. But she's looking at me, she's like, oh yeah, I knew that this was like it. So
yeah, I'd been told to go get the car. I got there with the car and I, you know, kind of parked on the side of the street. I'm noticing like how slow the process is as far as getting to the car. And I think that's when I was like, oh, like maybe I should have left like 30, 45 minutes ago. But
right, so we get home finally, and she had told you that it would be a good idea to go sit in the bath, right? Or something. I really don't know.
Yeah, so the warm bath was one of the recommendations that kind of helped soothe the contractions. So we ran a bath. She got in the bath for a little bit, got out of the bath, got back in the bath, but
I don't remember that part. Why did I get out?
I think what really was going on is every contraction, like, or so from the outside looking in, I don't want to say I know this for sure, but it just felt like every contraction, like when it started, it was something new from a pain threshold. And then once it continued, she kind of got used to it, so she was okay with it. But then the next one was again another level of pain. So it was, we went through a lot of again, that the time from home, not to speed the story up, but the time from home to when we actually decided it was time to go to the birthing center. There was a lot of positions, steps, different things, whether it was the bathtub, whether it was the ball to kind of put her back on, had some towels on the bed, lots of pillows, massaging the lower back. It was a lot of just, stand up, sit down, lay down, get in the tub.
Lots of me barking orders. I do remember that. When you're in it, you are very singular minded. And I, of course, being first time going through this, I didn't know what to expect. So like he's saying, that is kind of true. As the contractions were hitting, it's a different kind of pain. It's totally different than anything I can try to describe to you. So I won't even try. Just know that it's a very unique kind of pain that no one can prepare you for. So I do remember, I thought I was in the bathtub for a really long time. But one thing that I will say is that I thought that contractions would start on a 0, hit a 10, and then you fall back down to the 0. No, my contractions, they would go up to 10 and then would only come back down to like a 5, maybe even like a 7. Like I was just riding this wave of like really intense pain and then maybe a little less intense, but still not a 0. And that's what I wasn't prepared for. I thought I would have time to take a deep breath, relax, get centered again, get ready for the next one. But when you only fall back down to like a 7 or a 5, there wasn't really a lot of time for that. So that's why there were a lot of position changes. Just like I was trying to get comfortable and figure out, how are we gonna do this? How is this gonna work?
The whole goal, of course, at that point as a dad is to just, be supportive. There was no barking in my mind as far as like, who are you talking to? Like, no, you deal with the situation at hand. And you know,
and you were trying to be helpful and supportive
in any way you can. Like, and I think the whole process itself at that moment is, you know, I think I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is legit now. Like, you know, once we got in the house and, you know, the bath and, you know, just the different positions and, you know, of course, time in the contractions is when I realized, like, okay, we're in it now and let's get ready. And you know, everything that you prepared for up to that time frame, you know, you're now starting to apply. Again, the goal at that point is support. Like, we went through a good 20 different positions: in the tub, out the tub, in the tub, out the tub, the ball, roll the ball away, no, bring the ball back. And it's one of those, like, okay, like, you want the ball back, I give you the ball back. Is you just keep doing that. And, you know, at one point she was down on her knees and like the ball was in front of her and she was kind of like holding the ball, and then she'll just like push the ball away and then be like, no, give me the ball back. So it's, you know, you're just there like, you want the ball? Cool. You want to get back in the tub? Cool. Now granted, every time you get out the tub you got to dry off, but it is what it is. Like, you just continue to, you know, kind of go through this process. At this point you're in the mode of, you gotta do this. Like, there's, you know, I didn't have to go downstairs or anything, I don't believe, because mind you, we're upstairs in our bedroom, so we're on the second floor, and you know, my Benihana is just sitting on the kitchen table. So, you know, that's
so he kind of had a point that if, when I leave here, dinner time is over.
Yeah, it's just, that was it. I didn't eat again until 6 the next morning. The midwife finally said, okay, it's time to come in, and she was like, you guys are good to, you know, kind of come to the birthing center. We're upstairs. It probably took us a good 45 minutes to get downstairs into the car. So
out
we
of
had
the bed, 2 flights of stairs.
And it you know, kind of getting into the car again. This is when I knew, like, okay, this is not, you know, positioning in car as far as how she wanted to sit. And,
but
you know,
why did it take us so long to get down the stairs?
I think because the contractions were still hitting so hard that walking down the steps were just like painful. And
they were coming so fast that I would go down maybe 2 steps and then there would be another contraction. And you can't do anything. You cannot do anything but have that contraction.
So 23 stairs later, we made it to
23 contractions later.
And so we're in the car. The bags was already packed, so we were already prepared. Bags are packed. Now, mind you, in my mind, I'm taking the same route that I would take if we're actually going to an appointment, which means I'm taking a side street that I think is closer that has speed bumps.
To avoid, we would normally be avoiding traffic by going that way.
And so the first speed bump, like, I go over the first speed bump, and now granted, I'm not like going anything like crazy or anything, but I take the speed bump, not normal. And no, she definitely was like, yo, like, let's slow up on these speed bumps. Now, mind you, the street has 3. That was the first one. You got to get through 2 more. Well, that's the thing. You want to drive slow because, you know, of everything that's going on, but you also want to be swift and get to the birthday center. So you have to kind of play with it. And we finally get to the birthing center. So she opens the door and let us in. And we go in.
Wait, hold on. She opens the door and we can't go in yet because I'm standing in the doorway having contraction. And like, we can't even close the door like that. I'm literally in the doorway and you just have to wait until it passes. But I think you went to like move the car or park the car or something. So it's just she and I, you know, Jen, me and the midwife.
Yeah, and again, midwife is just like, here's your parking pass. Go park right here. And she's calm. Like, I'm just like, park where? All right, cool. Give me the paper. And then she's like, get the bags and all this other stuff. And
which she doesn't, by the way.
I didn't get the bags. One of the things is, just to set the scene, is, you know, we're at a birthing center. So very different than a hospital in the sense of it just feels like a home. Regular bed, nightstands, candles, play music. You can play your own music. But, you know, we had a plan.
They have a tub there if you want to labor in the tub and, you know, completely deliver in the tub also. But I knew that my plan was to just labor in the tub, whether we were there or at home. And then I did want to get out and have a land birth versus a water birth. So I don't know. At some point I asked her, you know, can I start pushing?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, nah. And I mean, it was one of those where I think she was like, yeah, this
she said you are pushing.
Yeah. Erica felt the most comfortable on all fours. So I went from holding her hand from in front of her to actually being behind her. And at this point, it was, water is broke. Um, she's pretty much pushing. And I vividly remember these details because, I mean, to be real though, it felt like it was 5 minutes. So, I mean, was it? Like in my mind, it felt in my mind it felt quick, but I'm pretty sure it felt different
Which
for her.
part exactly?
It just felt like it went from like, okay, you're pushing to like, should I keep pushing? And I think when she said, should I keep pushing, you know, baby Wallace was crowning. Like, Reagan is pretty much, on her way out. And
well, even before we got to that point, I do remember, as you have these vivid memories, I vividly remember saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I know that I said that because it was a moment of, how long can I keep this up? How long is this going to go on for? Because like I said, there was no zero. There was no zero in the pain. It was just, you were just in this tunnel. And there's a baby at the other end of it. But where is the baby? So you know that the baby is coming, but you do lose all sense of time. And, part of knowing that I wanted to do a natural birth at a birthing center, I did do a little of the hypnobirthing tracks on my phone. And, I read about all the things that you can do to, visualize your birth and see the contractions as waves and not as contractions and all these things. So I was trying some of that, but once you get stuck inside yourself for an extended period of time, you really don't see how ever else you're gonna get out of that. It's not quite out of body. I was very much connected and disconnected at the same time. I can't really explain it, but it lasted for more than 5 minutes. I think we were there from, let's say we got there at 2, right? That's a good number. And again, everything was happening so fast. We didn't have time to record. We didn't have time to really track. There was no way to keep track of what was happening. You were just
doing
next. Yeah. So thankfully he was there though.
On the outside looking in though, it actually I'm not saying that she didn't go through all of this. Clearly she did, but it just felt like, man, she's like, as much as she was like, she did say, do I have to push? She asked, can I push? Like all of those was happening. And I felt like every time she wanted to push, she asked. And the midwife's like, yeah, kind of go ahead and push. And, you could tell she was in pain, but you could also tell that she was taking it. Like she was like, I got this. Like I got this type.
So finally, I think the midwife says, that we're getting close. Just give it one more push. You're almost there. She started talking to me like that because even when I was pushing, pushing isn't what you think it is, or at least it wasn't what I thought it was. Even the word push is not, it's just like a squeezing, kind of going with the contraction. And that's why I had to ask, can I push? And she was like, you already are, because I was just going with the contraction. But apparently that's kind of what pushing is. She says, on this next one, just, give it just a little bit more than what you've been giving. And I did.
Well, I think I was actually behind you when Reagan came out.
If you say so.
Yeah, because I just remember, how Reagan came out. So I'm behind. I don't know why. I mean, did I catch Reagan?
I don't think so. But I think she told you, hey, if you want to come see, now's a good time to come look. Maybe something like that happened.
Yeah. But so I mean, my view was the whole process. And to me, it's amazing. I really think but I'm also the type that, don't I'm not bothered by that. So it was definitely, at all. And it was one of those where it's just it's amazing process. And it's just amazing to see, this baby come into the world. And so, I don't want to use the phrase Reagan flopped out, but it's like this slimy baby. So of course, that's what happened. And again, like I said, we didn't know, boy or girl. We did not know and did not care.
You're on the bed and not in the tiny little hospital bed, and I wasn't on my back and my feet weren't a completely different experience. And I'm so thankful for it because it allows your body to use gravity and for you to use your contractions to push in the direction that the baby needs to go in without it being compressed. There's so many different benefits. Anyway, the point is that I'm still in all fours and she basically, the placenta doesn't come out also at this first time, at the same time. So she's still attached to the umbilical cord. So she has to pass the baby up back the same way she came. Passes me the baby, and I hold her, and I, kind of like roll over a little bit.
It was very much like, oh, we're not done. We're nowhere near done. So, baby's born. We still have to, kind of do all the stuff. And I do believe Reagan, she just kind of just came. She didn't cry.
She did not cry.
She didn't cry. She didn't just, she just kind of came out,
Yes, but it was another good thing too, and he kind of said this earlier. One good thing too about the birthing room that we were at is that, the lights are dim. Our voices were pretty hushed. There's not a million people in the room. So many things that you will want to have in place for a baby who's never used their eyes before, never used their ears before, outside of the, the vacuum of the womb. So it was wonderful that it was this gentle entering into the world. But it was just such a beautiful thing that she just kind of wasn't there 1 second and then was there the next second.
Right. Yeah. I honestly think that she's holding Reagan as she's pushing out the placenta. I'm pretty sure.
That I do remember.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a push and we're good. It was another few pushes that to me was labor-esque. It was very much so like this. It was like, oh, and family finally makes it. Of course, right after Reagan was born, literally right after. I cut the umbilical cord. The story is like, my hand was like shaking, but
if it wasn't so gory and graphic, I would like add a clip of it there. But they have to clamp on the side of the baby and clamp on the side of the placenta, and you cut in the sweet spot in between. So that metal on metal, that distinctive like clink, 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 as his hands trying to find the spot.
There's not much room in between the clamp to cut. Like, to me, there wasn't that much room. And you're like, I know this is like not right at all, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, don't cut it wrong because, I don't know.
You want to botch it?
Yeah.
And you said that too, like, this isn't going to hurt her, right? And, so of course, there's no nerve endings, and it's just like this gelatinous, gooey, like hard but wet noodle, if that makes any sense. So that was something. So again, the whole thing about having a birth plan, that was something that we wanted to do. We definitely didn't want her bathed right away. We wanted to leave the coating on her to help her with her skin. Again, you're just being introduced into the world, and then we wanted to delay the cord clamping, so they let her stay attached for a little bit, or not let. I shouldn't say it like that. They knew that's what we wanted, so she stayed attached to the cord for a little bit longer. And then we cut it. I didn't encapsulate it at the time. That wasn't something that I, was interested in doing. We knew that we wanted to avoid any intervention. I knew that I wanted to labor naturally. And it's kind of like the saying, you give someone a hammer, all they see are nails. And, that's, the best way that I can summarize my perception of conventional medicine as far as laboring goes. When you are in a hospital, even you think you go in wanting to have a natural delivery, sometimes there is some coercion that goes on that, well, do you want an epidural? And, your baby's not progressing and you're not progressing. And, these things are kind of whispered to you, but it isn't always with the caveat of, okay, because you're in danger, because your baby's health is in danger. So I said all that to say, I wanted to avoid any intervention, and I wanted to not even be in the space where it will be offered. The birthing center has a sister hospital where if something progressed needing some medical attention outside of their care for myself or the baby, you can be in the hospital in a matter of minutes.
The midwives that were assisting us throughout the checkups and just throughout the process were phenomenal, and just the ability to put you, like the mother and the baby first, to me was something that you felt at this birthing center. And it just
from day one.
It just
Mary and
the training itself, the checkups, the birthing classes, but the way that they were speaking to us from a place of care, to me, just I don't think you can get anywhere else. So as a dad, I just felt that it was an amazing experience.
I think we both were really happy I mean, Reagan was safe. We were safe. I did need stitches, and I definitely remember when I tore, but it was that last push. She was like, "Give it a little bit more," and I said, "Huh?" And then I gave it maybe a little too much more, but we both were really happy. I mean, Reagan was safe. We were safe. I did need stitches, and I definitely remember when I tore, but it was that last push. She was like, "Give it a little bit more," and I said, "Huh?" And then I gave it maybe a little too much more, but I wouldn't change anything about our story for sure. And we had an in-home.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, we had an in-home midwife visit the next day.
Right. And they had checkup points at home. Like it was the following day, then like a week, whatever you needed help with, whether it's, nursing or,
a lactation consultant came for an in-home visit.
But when I look back at the process and, kind of going through it, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like it was really close is the word I want to use. Like it's a bond that you can really, it's very intimate. Like you get to experience childbirth as a dad in a manner that I wouldn't trade for the world.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of it. We both just really, I don't think would change it for the world, and now we're like advocates for birthing centers, and we love to tell this story because I think a lot of times moms don't know that they have a safe alternative, in fact safer, like I mentioned, because of the C-section rates, and that is one of the cascades that starts higher risk of infection, higher risk of blood clots, when you have your membranes ruptured and then you're getting an epidural, and all these things kind of set up or open the window, open the door to the possibility of adverse outcomes. And so by shutting down those possibilities, by avoiding interventions, is a way to help promote and support safer labor and safer outcomes for a mom and baby. So that was really why we chose the birthing center.
I'm glad I had a chance to kind of share my part of the story, and I'm glad I had a chance to go to Benihana for my birthday.
So I think we're done here. So that is pretty much it. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my co-star. He's gone with the little monster at this point, but he and I just really, really valued and really appreciated our experience at the birthing center. And I hope that this video gave you a new perspective. Maybe you didn't understand, or maybe you've never even heard of a birth experience at a birthing center. So just know I would love to also do another video about my natural pregnancy and even my natural products that I used once Reagan was born. There were things that I found out along my path and along my research that I knew that I did or did not want to be a part of Reagan's birth. So let me know if that's a video that you're interested in. Just leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy it, and hit the subscribe button because I definitely want to share more about my experience along the road. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.